Hey guys, Ramsey here. Welcome to another video. Today we've got an early impression video. Well, it's really a late night insight because I've sprayed this on tonight for the second time. I've only worn it to bed. I have not worn this as my scent of the day yet. However, this is a very highly requested video, and I guess today is going to be the day of 2023 fragrances because my scent of the day was actually a brand new release from Centauri Perfumes called Elixir. So you can go check out my thoughts on that one. And we're doing another 2023 fragrance today from the house of Amouage, previously one of my favorite houses of all time. And this is called King Blue. So this is Opus 15 King Blue. And first of all, I have a lot to say on this fragrance. So for a late night insight, I may ramble a little bit. But the first thing that I want to say is everything that I've watched on YouTube from other reviewers, and of course, it's the usual suspects to hurry up and get out their, video as fast as they can for clicks and likes and all that stuff. You see a lot of the same suspects, but everything I watched a couple videos before I did this video, and I literally feel dumber. I feel like I actually lost understanding of this fragrance from listening to some of those people talk about the fragrance. I've heard it compared to everything. Anything you can think about, it's been compared to. I heard it compared to Baccarat Rouge 540. I've heard this compared to Aventus. I've heard this compared to Ultra Zest by Thierry Mugler. And so just be careful. There's some rubbish stuff about this fragrance. And I think the reason is the name. I think the name throws people off. King Blue. And I don't think they really know what to think of it. Is it a blue fragrance? Is it not a blue fragrance? And I'm going to get into my thoughts on it. But first of all, before we hop into my thoughts on the fragrance itself, I have to give a special thank you to Ali, who supplied me with some brilliant Amouage samples recently. I would not be able to do this video without people like you, Ali. So thank you very much. It means a lot. You know, it's almost impossible to keep up with all the releases nowadays when you're just one person, and brands aren't sending you stuff. None of the big brands normally. I'm not on the usual list of free bottles, let's say, outside of just a few here or there from let's say a friend like Eugene or Peter Carter or something like that. But so yes, thank you very much, Ali, for supplying me with much needed samples. And even a sample where she tested it first. And I've worn this to bed twice now. And look how much juice is still left. So actually I may respray it just because. I'm going to say some things about this fragrance that are going to be very negative. I'll tell you that right now. But at heart, I do like the fragrance. It's just I don't like where Amouage is going. Okay, so let's get into it. So the first thing that I'm going to say is there's a thought that popped into my mind the very first time that I smelled this, and that thought was I was worried that this was going to be Amouage's Uncut Gem moment, okay? And if you know Frederic Mall's fragrance catalog and you know Uncut Gem, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. The good news is this is not Amouage's Uncut Gem moment, at least not to me. But what it is it is Amouage's Layton moment. And now you see Layton is a blue colored bottle, but it's not a blue fragrance, okay? I would not consider Layton a blue fragrance, just like I wouldn't consider Aventus a blue fragrance. Layton is not a blue fragrance, but it was a big hype beast. And we'll talk a little bit about why I think there's a Layton comparison to be had. But at a very cursory level, the perfumer who actually made King Blue also happened to make Layton. His name is Hamid Marathi Kashani. He's a Firmenich perfumer, okay? And so he made Layton. And Amouage, so if you sort of understand the history, it was not only created by Mr. Kashani, but it also was a huge hype beast. Like I said, Layton put Parfum de Marly on the map for some people. This came out in 2016, and this was sort of one of those fragrances that introduced Parfum de Marly to the world. It was a hype beast, if you will, and many newbies got into Parfum de Marly and niche perfumery because of fragrances like Aventus and like Layton, and those are the type of fragrances that are being compared to Amouage's King Blue. And so I assume that King Blue will be a similar seller, a good seller for Amouage as far as profits go. But I think I think it will sell well, but I think it will be loathed by Fragcom. I think people like me are not going to like this fragrance normally. Let's say the majority of people in Fragcom are not going to hate it, and the reason is that this fragrance is all about modernity in what's popular. Let's say in 2023, okay, that's what this fragrance is about, and it has the modernity on its side, if you will, and it's clear that Amouage is trying to appeal to a younger crowd. They just are. People like me who are old Amouage heads who have, you know, stuff like this going on, all the old collection, if you will, here and over here, you know, all this stuff, the oldies. The new creative director and path that Amouage is going down, they don't give a shit about us. They just don't, period. They've made it clear that they don't. Not only with their actions, but they've straight up said it. Hey, new people will come to the brand. That's their, you know, when the creative director gets on a live stream and says that, that's their mindset, period. They don't care about sort of what the old timers like me think, but I'm going to tell them anyways. So this is their attempt to go after a younger crowd. And in fact, they're using a younger perfumer to try and do so, because they're using a perfumer. His name is Alexis Grugian. Sorry if I butchered that, Alexis, but it's a blatant attempt to sort of force feed the youth Amouage as a brand. That's what they're trying to do. And in fact, even in their little write-up, I'll read a little blurb about Alexis. It says, a Beauvoir-born color-blind Frenchie, Alexis Grugian embodies the energy of the young generation. He embodies the energy of the young generation. An athlete and drummer, his creations weld together bold and addictive ingredients in a vibrant creation that are always youthful yet far from juvenile. Well, we can debate that one day, but actually, thanks to another friend of mine, I was able to discuss this sample set from Amouage, and this was 4 new fragrances that came out at I think at the end of 2022. It was Search, Purpose, Lineage, and Guidance, those 4. And I actually have a live stream where I tried all 4 of these, and I believe Search was the one that Mr. Alexis Grugian created. Let's just look it up to be safe. Amouage Search. Yep, that was his. And I actually didn't mind it. If you want to see my thoughts on Search and the other 4, go watch my live stream on the Amouage, you know, sample set where I sort of tried these live on stream. But I can tell you none of these 4 were full bottle worthy for me. And, but that's sort of where Alexis comes into the equation, is it really feels like it's Amouage's attempt to go after the youthful crowd, okay? And I have been extremely critical of Amouage ever since Christopher Chong left, and I think rightly so. I think I have had every right to go after Amouage, and with this release and the path that Amouage is going, I think Christopher Chong is sitting in his 100th floor apartment overlooking Taiwan or wherever the hell he has real estate all over the world and just laughing his ass off, is my guess. He is just up there sipping on his $500 a glass shit, smoking his $500 a cigar stick, and just laughing at the night sky at the way Amouage has gone, in my opinion, from a creative side of things, not from a profit side of things, because from a profit side of things, Amouage has done quite well, actually. But from a creative side of things, they did the Big Lebowski. The plane has crashed into the mountain, and this is sort of the... So here's the thing. As a devout Amouage fanboy, you can go watch my Amouage family portrait that I did if you want to see all of my Amouages and me talk about it in one video. And in fact, that is that even a word? That is quickly becoming one of my most popular videos as far as like number of watches and comments and stuff like that. But I continued to buy things from Amouage even after the change, even after I was very skeptical. I bought things like Boundless, which was one of the newer releases under the Fishman. I bought things like Silver Oud, which we will talk about in this video, because if I was going to make a comparison to King Blue, it wouldn't be to some of these other insane fragrances I discussed. It's definitely not Baccarat Rouge 540 Aventus or Ultra Zest. It's this, Silver Oud. And so I have purchased new Amouages since the Fishman has sort of taken over. But I've been very critical of the direction. And, but for me, this is it. This is the end. This is the absolute end of the line. No more for me. Because whenever I buy an Amouage fragrance in the past, you know, just pick one at random. Take something like, I don't know, here is Memoir Man, okay? I don't know why I picked the only one that I don't have a cap on, but I did. So Memoir Man, right? This is a Karine Vachon-Spencer creation. I buy fragrances like this from Amouage because I want to smell something I've never smelled before. I want to smell art in a bottle. That's why I buy niche perfumery. That's why you would spend, just to let you know, by the way, Amouage wants $500 for 100 mils of this. Now, that is top tier pricing. I mean, they're competing with the Rojas of the world, and they're competing with the big boys. There are very few retail $500 a bottle shit. I mean, that's double what Chanel asked, or maybe not anymore with the price hikes. But, you know, you could get less exclusives for less. You can get 200 mil, I think, less exclusives for less. So they're asking a lot of money. Let's just put it that way. But this is where I say no more. This is where, for me, I officially jump off the Amouage train. I already mentally sort of have jumped off the Amouage train. But honestly, for me, if it weren't for Allie very kindly sending me this, I would not give 2 squirts if I ever smelled it. Ever. You know, whether I smelled it or didn't smell it, I just wouldn't care, because I had a feeling exactly what it was going to be, and it was exactly what I expected it to be. So, but this video has been heavily requested by you guys, so I'm kind of glad I'm able to wear it and talk about it and stuff like that. So, first misconception about King Blue. This is not a blue fragrance, okay? So if you're thinking of things like Bleu de Chanel, which I have a video on if you want to go check that out, well, I reviewed the Parfum. Or if you're thinking about things like Sauvage, which I guess I'll review this one. I'll review all my fragrances one day, as long as I get to keep them. But I will try to review all my fragrances one day. But this has nothing to do with a blue fragrance, okay? That's the very first thing that you must know. It has absolutely nothing to do with this DNA. So if you're buying this thinking you're going to get a blue fragrance, you're going to be in for a rude awakening, especially if you blind buy it. This is not a blue fragrance. It has nothing to do with it, other than the fact that there are very modern smelling ingredients. So the modern elements of this fragrance, and I've been waffling when I was thinking about what I was going to say on this video. I've been going back and forth with myself whether I want to even use the term woody ambers, because here's the thing. The reality is, when Allie sent me this, and she had sprayed it before, but I'm sure she didn't spray it into the packaging, right? She probably sprayed it on herself, right? And, but when I got this, I could smell it through the packaging. Forget about with the cap on. So the cap is on the sample, right? It's not like I'm smelling the atomizer. The cap is on the sample, and it is inside of the little holder, covered up, and I can smell it. I could smell it through this as if I was just smelling the fragrance. And that type of strength, the reality is, when you can smell something through the packaging like that, Derek brought up a really good point in one of his videos. He said the difference between a powerhouse of Days Gone Past and a Beast Mode fragrance. So a powerhouse is something like Koros from 81, or Lapidus Pour Homme from 87, or Antaeus from 81, or something like that, right? Those are Boss Number 1 from 85 is a powerhouse, right, to me. And you could spray those on yourself and you would smell them all day. But the next day or the day after, when you smelled your clothes or something like that, you wouldn't smell them. You definitely wouldn't smell them a week or two or a month or two later like you will with some of the modern Beast Mode fragrances. You can only accomplish that sort of strength by using these modern woody amber-like materials. So the first thing I'm going to say, and this is going to sort of sound like a diss, but In one way, it sort of is. But in another way, I just want you to know what you're dealing with here. This has more in common with something like Unique Luxury than it does with the Amouages of the past. So if you take something like Diamant or Jubilation or CL Man or Silver, not Silver Oud, but just Amouage Silver. Or if you take something like Journey right here, or Figment Man, or Portrayal, or, you know, these Amouages before the new regime came in, you never smelled this level of woody ambers, okay? It has more to do with some of the modern niche houses, like I mentioned Unique Luxury, because that's one of the worst woody amber offending houses. Everything they put out is just a woody amber absolute nightmare, headache-inducing mess. It's disgusting. And even though this is not disgusting, okay? It's like a higher quality woody amber, if that makes sense. And so this for me is Amouage officially sort of ripping off the mask, and even the names. I mean, think about it. Think about what they've been putting out lately. I mentioned Silver Oud earlier, Royal Tobacco, King Blue. I mean, these are like you know, the names they've been picking lately. They're names for like the Snapchat generation. For me, no offense if you're a Snapchatter, but you know, they're names for Snapchat. I mean, what happened to Honor Man, or, you know, that, what happened to those? What happened to Interlude Man? Or those were fantastic names. Imitation Man, even, I loved. Epic Man, what happened to those? They're gone. That is gone. Amouage is dead. They have officially lowered. They've dropped the mask. They've just completely given in to it. They're not even attempting to hide it anymore. It's not even like, you know, it's not even like pretend. They have gone all out, full out. This is who we are. We don't care. If you don't like it, go away, is basically what they're saying, which is fine. But I want you to know that as a consumer. So the first thing you'll notice when you smell this is, like I said, Amouage officially lowering the mask. And the reason I say that is, imagine every single oud material from Firmenich, Givaudan, Maine, Robertet, you know, you pick, IFF. Imagine every single perfume you have smelled over the last decade that has this oudy, woody, amber, Noir-Limbinol, black oud, whatever you want to call it, thing going on. Is there real oud in King Blue? I certainly hope so for $500. And if you twisted my arm, I would say yes, there probably is some real oud in here. However, it doesn't smell like there's real oud in here, if that makes sense. So it smells fake. It just does. It smells fake for a fake generation. Is the people they're going for? This is perfect. And it smells like one of those perfumes where you will literally have to go take a bath in your local fire hydrant. You need the fire hydrant power. I'm going to have to scrub this like there's no tomorrow to get this off. It really has this synthetic, everlasting feeling to it. And there's a difference between, now some people they'll give me some sort of a retort and they'll say, well, all fragrances are synthetic, Ramsey. And the answer to that is yes, they are. Mostly, not all of them, but there are a lot of fragrances. Even the ones that smell natural are mostly synthetics. But there's a difference between creating a fragrance that has some natural smelling elements, even if they are synthetic, and a fragrance that is just full on synthetic creation. We don't give a shit. Here's your luxury blob and go away. Give us your $500 and go away. And that's what this smells like. This smells like a luxury blob fragrance with an oud. And I use parentheses when I say oud on purpose, with an oud twist. That's what you're getting. And it has this very likable opening. So whenever you spray, the first thing you're going to notice is there's heavy mandarin and blackcurrant and pink pepper, okay? And pink pepper is like the note du jour. Everything has pink pepper because it's this, you know, likable thing. But I've heard some people say, oh, it's like this fresh mandarin, like no, it isn't. Not at all. It's almost like a mandarin or blackcurrant, as if you're holding one of those looking glasses up to your eye, you know, and you're seeing it through this 2023 woody amber, smoky, burning wood chip kaleidoscope, okay? like you're seeing it through a looking glass is basically what the opening smells like. So it is very likable, but does it smell like natural mandarin orange or blackcurrant? Not at all. Not even one bit. From the very beginning, I mean, it's that synthetic bam in your face. So I can appreciate the opening. I think the opening will capture many newcomers to the house of Amouage. That's what they're going for. Obviously, they're going for the younger generation to me. Because when you read Hamid Marati Kashani's blurb, it says, is a perfumer whose humility shows through his versatility in the art of perfume making. They also forgot to put a space between perfume and making, which is a very rookie mistake for a house as large as Amouage. In touch with his Middle Eastern roots, he has developed a bold style that shies not from being refined, in which opulent balsams meet the grace of Western genres. Who's writing these? Anyways, but clearly they're going after the youth. They just are. And if you take Layton as a case study in Hamid, God, I can never remember his name, Hamid Marati Kashani's history, it also uses this vanilla, okay, and so Layton uses vanilla in the base, just like in King Blue. And in King Blue, there's this burning wood chip smell in the base, okay, with King Blue. So what ends up happening with King Blue, though, is imagine the oud chips that are burning are not just oud chips, but they're sort of blended in with oak chips, okay? So you have some burning oud chips, and you also have some burning oak chips, okay? And the burning oak chips give off this slight vanillic tint to the woodiness, okay? Because oak is a very hard wood. And it actually does make a pretty good firewood. But sometimes imagine like an oak barrel. Like today when I was reviewing Centauri's elixir, I was talking about how oak barrels are regularly used in, the creation of cognac and whiskeys and stuff like that. And it usually does add a little bit of that vanillic twist to it. So imagine this burning oud chip, but with a little hint of vanilla that makes it very likable. Very the vanilla gives off a very mass appealing touch that really harkens back to the vanillic base of Layton, and it is what I think really made Layton put Parfum de Marly on the radar for many newbies, and I really think that it's going to happen for Amouage as well with this one. I think this is going to be sort of a newcomer's first Amouage fragrance, let's say, for many people. So the vanillic sort of woodiness in the base of King Blue, along with the pink pepper in the top, which is another Layton trick, by the way. Although I think the pink pepper is in the base of Layton, which is weird, but there is this pink pepper bit in Layton as well. And the very first time I smelled King Blue, one other thing I should mention is I thought I smelled a bit of this apple-like fruitiness in there. So there is the blackcurrant, there is the orange, but I thought I got a little bit of this apple. But it's not listed in the notes. If it had been, that would be like the holy Layton trinity: apple, vanilla, pink pepper. There's also patchouli in Layton, and there's patchouli in King Blue. So you get the point. I'm not saying King Blue smells like Layton, but I'm saying that there are some tricks that I think Layton, used that they're using in King Blue, in my opinion. So as it continues to dry, as King Blue continues to dry, you're going to pick up some amber, okay? So there's going to be amber and what I would consider to be this mass-appealing leather, okay? And this is where the fragrance really sort of distinguishes itself, because one thing that you're going to pick up as well, along with the amber, is incense. And the incense actually comes in pretty early into the fragrance. You're going to notice the smokiness almost, I don't want to say right at the beginning, but if you pay attention, the smokiness is, so that spray that I did, what was it, 24 minutes ago now? That spray that I did, I'm already getting the incense already. You know, it is pretty early on. You really start to pick it up. And, you know, I like incensey, oudy type fragrances, so I do like this fragrance. But the problem is, it has an issue. It has a problem for me. Well, it has many problems, but the biggest problem it has is that the comparison to Silver Oud does not go away. In my mind, it does not go away at all. These are the comparisons. You have Silver Oud, and you have King Blue. And you know, the uncanny difference in really where, to me, Silver Oud distinguishes itself for me. If I was going to pick one of these two, Silver Oud would hands down be the winner. And the reason is that this has the addition of two particular very important notes, in my opinion, that make this fragrance much more suited for my taste rather than King Blue. The first is Cypriol. And Cypriol or Nagamata oil adds this sort of earthiness to the composition. And I actually really do like Cypriol, even though many houses use it as like a trick to, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some Cypriol in King Blue, but not as much as in Silver Oud. Silver Oud has a lot of Cypriol. In fact, if you said, give me your top 5 Cypriol fragrances, Ramsey, this would be one of them. So, so this is heavier, earthier, and much more importantly, into the dry down, the leathery dry down, which is very mass appealing in King Blue. If you've ever smelled sort of the leather in, you know, something like the Fan de Fendi series, Fan de Fendi, Uomo, or whatever, they're discontinued, and they're much more designer. But if you ever smell that designer leather that's very mass appealing, that's how the leather in King Blue comes across. It really, King Blue to me really comes across like a more mass appealing, friendlier version of Silver Oud, because Silver Oud has a castoreum note in the base. There's no castoreum here. There may be a little bit of Cypriol in King Blue, but there is no castoreum, or it doesn't smell like there's any castoreum to me. And castoreum is one of my all-time favorite notes. It makes the leather in the base animalic and challenging. It's also much smokier into the dry down. So they've toned down the incense on King Blue. They've added all of these little mass appealing notes that swirl around the fragrance, the vanilla, the pink pepper, you know, and Hamid Marathi Kashani. If you've gone back and studied his back catalog, see this Alexis Grugian guy, he's new. So he doesn't have much of a back category to study other than Purpose, which, you know, there's just not very much of him to go back and study. But Hamid does have a back catalog to study. Go look at his fragrances. They're all Parfum de Marly. He is like the mass appealing king. I think he did, outside of Layton, he also did Pegasus, which I've never smelled. He did Layton Exclusive, which I have a video on. He did Percival, which I've never smelled. He did Sedley, which I've never smelled. He did Pegasus Exclusive, which I've never smelled. He did a Castor, which I've never smelled. All Parfum de Marly fragrances. And then he's done some other stuff from other brands, which I've never smelled. But many of his biggest hits, if you will, are Parfum de Marly fragrances. You know, many I've never smelled. Pegasus, Percival, Sedley, Pegasus Exclusive, a Castor. And then I think he did a Fragrance du Bois fragrance as well. Oud Rose Intense. I may have smelled that, but I can't remember. All those Fragrance du Bois fragrances blend together for me anyways. But basically, it comes across as a mass appealing shot across the bow. And that's the reason I'm off of the Amouage train officially. It just feels like they have just ripped the mask off. They just don't even care anymore. This is what they're going to be. This is what we're going to get from now on. And it's a purposeful choice that Amouage made. When they fired Christopher Chong, I don't know if they fired him or they agreed to separate ways or whatever it was, but they knew what they were doing. And I think Christopher Chong just would not have allowed them to go down this path. This would never come out under a Christopher Chong regime, the old Amouage regime. No way. No way. You know, and whether you liked his fragrances or not, one thing you had to say about Christopher Chong, one thing that you cannot deny, is he always gave you something different. He never tried to remake the same thing again. You've smelled this. Even though you've never smelled this before, you've smelled it, if it makes sense. And so because Silver Oud has that castoreum sort of extra leathery dry down, I would go with Silver Oud. And so I have the correct full bottle of this. There's no need for me to pursue this any further. You know, hands down for me, it would be Silver Oud. And it's just, you know, it's sad in a way to see Amouage do this, because while this isn't a bad fragrance, while I enjoy it, I have professed my love for oudy type fragrances many a times, and even the designer type ouds I generally like. I mean, even some of the cheapies like Versace Pour Homme Oud Noir, or something like Tom Ford's Oud Wood, which I ran through an entire bottle of that. I like those kind of fragrances. You know, they're not the peak of oud perfection or anything. I actually have two videos you can go check out. One is This Is Not a Top 10 Western Oud, and one is This Is Not a Top 10 Real Oud Fragrances. And, you know, they're two completely different categories, but I do like these type of fragrances, so I don't think this is a bad fragrance. I just think it's a bad path for Amouage to be going down, to create something like this that gives frag heads almost nothing new to smell. Maybe if you're some 21-year-old and you got your first real paycheck and you've got some money in your pocket and you're walking through the mall and you're trying to impress the girl that is sort of, I don't know, working at the Amouage counter, or the girl that's with you or something. Do people even shop at a mall anymore? Fuck, I don't know. And you go drop $500 retail, which hell no, wait for this to hit discounters, because you'll find it at $300 soon. You know, it just, other than that guy, I don't think any real frag heads who are deep in the game like we are, the fragrance addicts, are going to find anything with this that makes them want to pull the trigger on buying a bottle, in my opinion. Now, if you don't have Silver Oud, or you know, you don't have these other oud fragrances, but hell, for $500, go buy yourself a Riche Le Doré creation. Go hunt down an old bottle of you know, I don't know, one of his fragrances, Russian Oud or something. Go do that. You'll go hunt down an Ensar. Go buy an old Bortnikov bottle. You can do that for $500. That's the thing. So the Amouage has a big problem in my mind, in that, for me, the biggest thing that really made me want to go buy an Amouage is now gone. I know I'm not going to get something unique and different and that I've never smelled before, and all of this stuff. I'm going to get retreads. And that's just the way it goes for me. That's the way it is with Amouage. From now, you just have to accept that fact. That is the path that they have taken. They will never put out anything, I don't think, any more that is going to challenge, surprise, you know, because they are now going for sales, for money, pure and simple. And it's sad to see, because Amouage was one of my favorite houses. They were one of the houses that really got me into niche perfumery. And so it's taken me a long time to officially come to this conclusion, but King Blue did it. So while it's not the Uncut Gem moment, I don't think, for Frederic Malle or anything like that, to me, this is the Layton moment of Amouage, and I am I'm jumping off the tracks at this stop. So thanks for watching. If you've had a chance to smell King Blue, let me know. Let me know what you think about my Amouage ramble. If you agree, disagree, however you feel about the Fishman. I know I've given him a hard time, but damn it, he deserves it for what he did to Amouage. But that's what he was brought in to do, so I guess I can't be mad at him. Thanks for watching. Do leave a comment. I love seeing your thoughts below. Cheers, and I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.